Okay, folks, I'm going to get into an autopsy here on this door latch actuator. It's from a 2006 Ram 3500. I'm sure it fits a whole bunch of other models. I believe it's going to fit a Dodge Stratus and a Chrysler Sebring as well. Rams, it's 03 to 2010. I think on the cars, it's from 0106. So what happened is the door latch, the complaint was that the door latch wouldn't work all the time, not the lock, not the latch itself. The latch part is fine. And sometimes what would happen is, let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, wrong way. Sometimes this guy here, it's better to just, let me just show you like this. Let's just call this the door assembly. So here's your door, right? And you have your rod that comes out that you can manually lock or pop and unlock your door. When you'd hit the button on this thing, it would go to close it. It would go down a little bit and then kind of stop. And then to open it, it would be the same thing. It would go up a little bit and then kind of stop. And it would kind of return to center almost. It would droop back. So it wouldn't go all the way and lock up and in the open position, and it wouldn't go all the way down and lock in the down and locked position. And I'll show you why in just a minute. We're going to do a complete autopsy on this guy. So like I said, 06 Ram 3500. I think it's a Laramie power door locks, power windows on this truck with the alarm system. So first things first, your alarm system is going to be getting its information from these two pins here. The two further up, the brass color ones, those are going to be your motor, and the motor hides in here. And so the first thing, truck's got almost 300,000 miles, dusty, dirty environment. It's a pickup truck. It's construction sites, the desert, wherever. So New Hampshire, where there's no desert. I mean, there might be a little one, but I don't know. When you lock the door on this truck, it would, it was fine. So that works just fine. The release worked just fine. But when I took this out of the vehicle and I pushed this from the latch position, nothing happened. It just sat like that. So I'd have to force it open. And I said, well, that's a buildup of dried grease and dirt and dust. So first things first is I'm going to take it apart. And I'm going to warn you right now, when you take these two screws out, keep some pressure on this. This plate is very important because this guy wants to explode. This one, not so much. This guy, you could drop it right on the ground. Nothing to worry about. This tab here indicates left, right. That's going to be your stop for travel on this arm. And if you look down here, well, you won't be able to see it down here. Even with the light, I don't think you're going to see too much of it. Yeah, that sucks. Don't worry about it. I'll show you. So on this end, you can see there's the rod. These two here are your exterior. So lock and unlock with the key, and this is your door latch. So when you pull the door latch on the door, it pushes down on the rod, and that unlocks this guy by pushing against this little guy here. This little trigger mechanism is what unlocks that. See? Same thing with this one. This one's yellow right now because I broke the original when I was doing the removal. It shattered. It was 24 freedom degrees outside. I don't know what that is in communist degrees, so I can't tell you. Nor do I care to. It doesn't matter to me. So anyways, that's off of here. So this is your interior, and this is your interior door lock So now we know those parts, and we'll just get into it with the screw driving. So like I said, keep some pressure on this side. Hold this guy. This one, don't worry about it. So this lifts right off. Get out of the way. All right. Screws come through here and here. Easy peasy. This is how your door lock unlock works. And this is how your, like I said, this is the lock unlock from outside, and that's how that's gonna activate. It's got some spring pressure to it. We can take the spring off. That spring just goes around this little lip guy right here. So, and that's your detent as well. That spring is what gives you the feel of locked and unlocked. See that? Because it's on either side of this inclined plane. This is where you're gonna get that feel of it opened or it closed, and that's it. So this spring is double duty. It's giving you the tension against this arm here, which is adjustable. There is a bolt here, cap screw, that you can adjust your angle and travel with it. So yeah, so that's that. So we can easily take this off of here. He just pops underneath. This is rubber, this little tit, so don't worry about that. So that guy, we could set that aside. As a matter of fact, let me set this down on some paper towel so I don't grease up my damn shop towel too quickly, and then set that aside. Now the next thing that's going to pop up technically on this, now I'll show you right here. You can see there's a scratch, and that scratch shows me my true original alignment right here. This is the scratch going straight across. You probably don't have to do that because there really is no way to goof this up. That being said, somebody will find a way to do it. So, hey, it is what it is. So this guy here we'll take off first. He can lift straight off. So, boop. You get under there, clean and re-grease. This is all new grease. The red is the new, the white is old. I think it's a lithium based in the original. Didn't care for it. It holds. It dries up. It gets hard. It turns waxy, and it doesn't work. It doesn't lubricate once it does that. Pushes to the sides, and it's useless. So, wipe my hands off. So, next thing is you can take this assembly off, and I'll show you that. This guy here, this little plastic arm, it's just dog-legged in here. There's a little foot on there that holds it in, so it doesn't pop out. And you can see how that foot sits right there. So nothing exciting there. Like I said, this is adjustable for your travel, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. I didn't have to fuck with it, so I didn't. So, and again, here's your trigger that both of those, the exterior and interior rods attached to. So that is connected to the guy that locks this. I'm going to just call this a hammer, and the other guy in there a sear, and this a trigger, because that's similar to what it is. Okay, let's just not beat around the bush and use covert words, because we're scared of everything in this world. It's stupidity. Scared of everything. People are pathetic. So, all right, next thing you know, you're in here, you're going to clean this out, take this old grease out, put the new stuff in, go around these posts, get them greased up too, because remember, you're not only is your alignment on that's where you're traveling against. So you're going to need grease on there, grease on this right here, because this guy, that arc rides on that arc. Duh. So that's easy. The little white arm from earlier, as you see, it's dog bone kind of thing. That, let me get him off of this. He rides right here, right in here, on that arc that you see right down there, right there. So grease this. That's a slide. And the backside of this guy you can grease because that runs against here and here. So grease it. And that's about it. Let's get this guy off. You don't need to, well, that's it. That's your travel. So locked, unlocked is your travel right here. So we can take this off while we're on this side. And I'll point it out now that right here is a rubber seal, a black rubber seal. And when you reassemble this, I'll show you how to get this apart. When you reassemble this, you gotta make sure you get that back in. Keeps it waterproof, because this, like I said it before, I might have said before, I don't know if I did, is, I believe, ultrasonically welded. So there's a groove in the bottom, and then there's a ridge that goes around a rim, and they slide in, and then I guess it just kind of vibrates and welds and, you know, becomes one. But that's how this whole thing is on there. So once you get to here, there's no more fun parts on this side. This one piece, this trigger guy, yeah, you could take him off and clean it and grease underneath it, and I'll get to that, but I want to show you this side. So let's get our screws out, and we're going to take our screws out, but we're going to put them right back in. So they're important. Let me get these other pieces and parts out of the way, and I'll show you. So this plate comes up, and carefully get in under here and make sure you're holding down the two pieces. Okay, so don't worry about that grease, it's just grease. I'm going to put the screws back in so we can talk about this. So let's use the screws to align this. Let's make sure that spring doesn't jettison. Okay, so now here we are with our latch assembly. This is in the open position. Push that screw down a little bit. And I'm going to grab this. So when you close your door, it pulls this guy. Hey, look, the spring's gone. I knew that was going to happen, which is fine. All right, put it back in there. Let's try this again one more time with the spring in it before I say screw it and show you what it looks like with the spring out of it. So I'll just do it this way where I can push it through that way. So you're going to close the door, and your latch is going to go. Screw it, the spring wants out. Okay, that's fine. So, and this little guy came off, so that's fine here. So this little hole here lines up with this little pin down here. So this pin, this hole, they go together. So when you put this, you can look down in there and you can line them up and click. That's attached to this. See, that's your trigger that I was speaking of earlier. So, and this guy has a spring underneath it, so remember that. So click, doors open, doors closed. There's two latches on this one. I think that's just a safety thing by the government. Maybe it's not required, but that's how it works. There's two clicks to unlock your door. When you pull that handle to unlock your door, oh, I knocked him out of place, so I'll just take him off. So when you pull it and you pull this guy out the way, pew, bang, your door's open. Now, again, trigger, I think this would be called a sear, and I think this would be the hammer in your loud noise making device. So click, and then you would have a firing fin that goes over here, and then when it goes click, pang, and then on the other side, boom, and then out goes freedom. Right, so just like one of those kaboom things. That's how it works. So there's not much to worry about here. So let's push this guy out. And you can see that's the whole thing right there. There's no magic. This to this. Right there. So, actually it's more like this, but whatever. So that's how that guy goes. And now what I'm going to show you is, if you look down, let me get my screwdriver. If you look down right here, you should be able to see that tip of that spring. That's what you're going to see come flying out if you don't keep this in compression when you first disassemble it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scribe and I'm going to stick it down here and try and catch that spring now. So I just did, and as I lift up, come on buddy, here comes the spring. So now there's the spring. Well, hell, there's my spring. Now I kinked it, so it's already screwed up. It doesn't matter, I have a replacement. Take the screw out and look on the back side of the hammer part, or the lock assembly. There's a pin. That pin sits in this groove here where the spring goes. That pin rotates in this arc to about here. The spring compresses and sits in this little guy. Maybe not that full distance. No, not quite. So yeah, that spring compresses to about there. Anyways, there's how your spring sits. It's best to install it with the hammer guy. I'm just going to call it a hammer. Get this in place and then just tilt this up just a hair. And that's where you can take your spring and start sliding it down that groove. And I usually just push on it with one of these little screwdrivers, and then poop, that's it, down, and it's in. So that's how you do that. So you're going to want to clean and re-grease around all this. Here's your switch for your alarm that I mentioned earlier. Your switch has a boot on it. There's a little gray rubber boot right there. Oh man, I can't get it in the right spot. So not much you're going to do to service that. This is a sliding wedge. That is to keep your door from rattling up and down when your door is closed. Now this is too wide. I don't know if I have something that's the right size to poke in there. Probably not. So let's see if this is the right size. No, not even close, but let's say it was. That towards the end it works. But if it was a little bigger when you push your door closed, that's all that does. That's just to get rid of the up and down rattle as you're driving down the road, especially a bumpy road. So I could take that part out. You can clean and re-grease it. Generally this doesn't get stuck up too bad. So but what you're going to do is, if you look back here, like a little mushroom guy right there, that pops up. So you can pull that out like that, and then the whole thing comes out. And what you have is there's your inclined plane, your wedge, that comes off. Spring on a shaft that looks like a nail with a second top to it. So that's an alignment pin for it. So that's it for that. Next, you got two pieces of rubber in here that are dampeners. They don't have to be dealt with. They're going to be fine. This is, like I said, this is 06. It's 2024. It's nice and soft, pliable. There's nothing wrong with this rubber. They're not degraded. They're not hard. This one is anchored through right here. You see that little tit sticking up right here? That's how that's kind of anchored. It pops right out. There's no nothing to worry about. This one pops out too. No big deal. So that leaves this plastic case empty for parts that come out. These are pushed in. These bushings are steel bushings are pressed in. Good luck, they're not coming out. There's no reason to get them out. So they're all they're doing is keeping you from crushing this when you bolt this to the door. So when your screws come in from this side, your 3 screws come in, and you tighten it up. This is against the door, and these are what hold it in place. And those screws are threaded into this bracket, this hole here, this hole here, and this hole here. So that sandwiches this all together in this fashion. So that's what those are for. Don't worry about those. You don't have to grease them, nothing. So when you get to the point that you got all this apart, and then you stick it all back together, and then you think life is good, and then you hit that door lock, and you get a little turtle head goes, and then goes back, and then you hit the unlock, and it goes and goes back. Or so lock would be down, and then it would kind of go back up, and then up to unlock, and it goes back down. That's this problem right here. So I'll show you again. I'll put this little gear wetsy guy on there, and you can see it's kind of sloppy, right? There's no there's not enough tension behind it, so it doesn't work. But it is what it is when you get to this point, and that's when you got to get to moving on to part B. So what I did, and you have to be gentle when you do this, and you're going to want, if you can, a second person to hold this plastic piece, or get a square-headed hammer, which are kind of rare nowadays. You're going to want to tap right against here. Now you can see where I was whacking it right there. Now this was not the process of doing that, but this is where I had to hit it, and that split this here. And then I tapped it a few more times. I think right here it looks like I got a little low, but that breaks that seal. And then you can get in there with a screwdriver like this and pop it up. And once it's loose, you can see all the way around there's a space. This comes straight up. The rubber seal stays in. You can take that out if you'd like. It's reusable, two-sided. I wouldn't worry about it. The seal's probably way better than the rest of the quality of the new one that you just bought, because when you're getting this far, if you know anything about motors, if you see that black in there, it's toast. She's pretty much done. So, but this is the drive, and let me give that a little unscrew with the world's worst cordless impact driver that doesn't automatically break because it's a name brand. It defaults to garbage, if you know what I'm talking about. So here we go. Two wires for your switch. These two, I guess we can call them traces. This is steel. They're not brass. It's steel, but they go to your motor. Normally these motors have little tabs that come out really weak. They have a hole in them so you can solder to them, and that's about it. There's no real disassembly beyond this. So let's just pop this out of the case. You can see the switch. You can see the case. You can see red grease. That's me. That's new grease. The old grease was that yellowish white, formerly lithium based grease, I think. So here we are. This is the situation here. You see the black. You might as well throw this thing out and just order a new one at this point. Or you can get yourself, if you have access to a bench power supply or a rework station. I have this piece of crap, but it has the ability to, and trust me, it's a piece of crap. You can turn this on and you can do your voltage, right? And while you're doing that, you can read your amps as you're doing your voltage. That's all this is good for. I got it at a tag sale. I paid $2 for it, and that's all I'm going to say. $2 is what it was worth brand new. But it works. So most of it works. Good enough for me. So back to this. You hook your leads up to that, you increase your voltage, and what you should see happening is that motor starts to turn in one direction or the other, and it's going to take this other sector gear, I'm going to call it, that you see in the white, sticking out white and red. That guy is limited. There's a groove all the way around it, and there's these pawls right here. That guy there, they're a detent, they're a stop. So inside this, you have one on this side and one on this side. We can see now there's the other one. Inside that gear, you can barely see it right there, is a spring. That spring sits in the channel, and that's what gives it the ability to recenter and return to center every time. So right there, and then back this way, that way. So when you hit lock and unlock, this thing takes off and spins up to either direction, hits the stop at the end there, and then that's it. And then the same thing in the opposite direction, hits the stop, and that's it. This is as far as you're going to get for the most part. There's a pin down here. It's now over here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's what aligns the switch. The switch, I don't think ever fails. There's your switch with the rubber boot. Not worried about it. It's in there. It's part of this assembly with the motor. I don't think you can get into here to work on replacing the motor, because I believe, oh, maybe not. Hey, look at that. It does come off. Okay. That's as far as you're going to get, because most of the replacement motors, you have the tabs that come up for the brushes. So this is a single unit, non-serviceable. The switch is non-serviceable. I believe the switch has a name on it. I think it says, as I drop my light, I broke it. All right, so the switch says something. Let's try this other light. Harbor Freight light. This is a piece of crap, by the way. It doesn't hold the charge. Alps, ALPS. I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, that's the switch. Non-serviceable. It ain't coming apart. The traces, they're non-serviceable. They're steel. They're not. They're magnetic. Just barely, but I don't think they're brass. They might be plated with brass, but they're some sort of low quality steel. Just barely magnetic. Anyways, who cares about that? We care about this. This is as far as you're going to get. Just clean and re-grease, spray. I used brake clean on this thing. And that cleaned all the gook out, and then I was able to put it all back together, and it works great. It's beautiful. The motor's still crap. The brushes are toast. Situation with the motor is, when they assemble this, so you got these stakes here and these rivets that hold it together. The pins are the rivets, I guess. They don't seem to be removable. I don't think you're going to get past them. Yeah, they're on there. They're no buenos, nie można, nie robi, nie nic, gówno. A to kurwa. So you can unscrew these two screws. You got to jam your screwdriver in at an angle to get this one out, but you can get this one out pretty easy. Problem is, I don't know if they used really strong Loctite or if they pressed this helical gear on here, this metal gear, but that guy don't come off. It ain't coming off. And of course, the engineers are wonderful. That base of that gear, you can see, It's bigger than the hole that the front of the motor case comes through. You can't tell that, but trust me, it is, because I already did this. So when you get this far and it's toast, it's toast. Get yourself a new one. Like I said, I got the Dorman one. Dorman part number 931636. Zip. That's zip. Barcode is right there. I'm not going to read it out to you. And yeah, it's made in China. It's crap. It's lower quality than this original one with all these pieces and parts in its exploded view for you. But what are you going to do? You're not going to get a made in USA door lock assembly. I don't know where I got this stupid snap-on screwdriver from, but I really don't like it. I really do like this guy. This thing is made in USA and there's no name brand on it. It's got a hole in the back for whatever reason. Screwdriver coitus. But man, this thing's wonderful. I've got a dozen of these things and I wish I knew who made these things. They're probably 60 years old, but and no stinky plastic smell from this clear. I don't know what it is. I thought it was acetate, but it ain't. Don't know what it is. But as you can see, there's some sort of like thread in here. But it's not really a thread. It's too light to be a true thread. It might just be from machining. But anyways, unfortunately, this ain't made in USA, I don't think, but this is, and the new one ain't. And when you get this far, you might as well just throw in a towel, go on Scamazon or Fleabay or whatever. But this will save you a few bucks in the process of diagnosis and being able to just grease it and get some more life out of this thing before you throw in the towel and replace it. Don't just throw parts at everything. This new way of thinking is just go to the dog crap parts store, and I don't care what parts store you go to, they all sell crap. There's your springs. I'll set those aside. I don't know why, but they all sell crap. If you can get the Dorman stuff, at least there's some quality in that. You know, that's about it. But yeah, if you can get it back together and get it clean and re-greased and running and good, you know, you save yourself a few bucks, probably put about 5 or 6 more years on the life of that piece, then, you know, good for you. Because these things, they're not expensive. The Dorman's not expensive, but from the dealer, I want to say they're well over $200. The Dorman from O'Scamley's is $170 special order. So, and of course, there's no returns on special orders and blah blah blah. If it's out of the box, screw you, Stinkies, Scammer. Maybe in my next video I'll talk about brushes. Maybe I won't. Actually, I'll talk about them right now. Here's brushes. Here's a blower motor from the same truck. These brushes are so toasted that they were binding up. There's not enough brush in here to keep alignment. So they started vibrating and the motor was like just making an awful noise. And that was the end of that, obviously. So you can see that there's a groove in the armature, the contacts here. Could I have thrown it on the lathe and cleaned this up and maybe got a little bit more life out of it? Yeah, but where am I going to get these particular sized brushes? These are the brushes right here. This is a brush, that's a brush. Those are the lead springs. This is the brush housing. This is the where the back of the motor was, the case was attached. So that's garbage, but once they're, you know, this is all, this black is from the brushes dissolving, and that's what you see in this guy here. They're just worn out, and it's reached the end of its life. Like I said, the truck's got just about 300,000 miles. Oh, made in Vietnam. Look at that. Can you read that? Oh, I'm wiping it off. But yeah, made in Vietnam. So little better quality than China. So we're not going to get 300,000 out of the next door lock assembly, but that's okay. The truck ain't going to last another 300. I'll tell you that. It's on its way out. But hey, for you guys that want to save a few bucks, like I said, Chrysler Sebrings and Chrysler Sebrings, Dodge Stratus, and the Rams. 01 to 06 on the cars, and then 03 to 10 on the Rams. Do yourself a favor, save yourself a couple bucks. Try cleaning and re-greasing first before you go and give the gods of garbage some of your money so that you have a part that lasts a few more years. At least you'll have a part that lasts a few more years. It costs you just a little bit of time. It's a 38-minute video or so, and hey, hopefully I helped somebody. I'm glad I helped. If that's the case, you know, this knowledge doesn't get passed on to the newer generation because the newer schools are just teaching you to throw parts at stuff. I don't agree with it. It's this parts cannon mentality. We'll shoot stuff at it and see what sticks. That needs to stop. This is why Americans are so damn poor, because we don't know how to fix things for anything. You know, and I'm not talking just about cars. I'm talking about your house. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about your marriage. Figure out what's wrong before you throw new parts at it. You know, don't waste money. And do I really want to buy a made in China Dorman one? No, I don't. However, due to the age of the truck, she figured the replacement run from Dorman is going to outlast the truck. So, like I said, we're already at 300,000 miles on that vehicle. So when it comes time to it, she's going to be replacing it. And this doesn't make sense to go with brand new from the dealer. I could imagine the dealer would charge you about $300 for the part. They're going to whack you with $125 to $150 or maybe even $175 diagnosis fee. And then something's going to break. One of these clips is going to break, and they're going to charge you for that. And they're going to charge you labor. And by the time you get out of the dealer for fixing your stupid door, especially if it's just something that could have been cleaned or re-greased, you're looking at around $1,000. Don't do that to yourself. Don't. Just stop. Take things apart. Figure out what's on the inside. There's plenty of people willing to show you in these videos and learn from them, because this new way of going to the crapo zone or the scammies or the never any parts anyway place sucks. Do it right. Figure out what's wrong. Be a real mechanic. Diagnose before you throw parts at it. Because what's going to happen someday is you're going to go out and you're going to buy the brand new part from the dealer and you're going to throw it in there and you're going to click that button and something's not going to work. Why? Because that was misdiagnosed. You put the wrong part in, and then you'll be eating it, especially if you're a small business. You're going to be eating that new part that you bought from the dealer or wherever, and if the dealer doesn't take it back, you're screwed. So do yourself a favor, learn to diagnose.